A peaceful family dinner at an exclusive restaurant suddenly turns into a nightmare when a cruel husband kicks his pregnant wife out in front of everyone while his new girlfriend watches with satisfaction. But neither of them knows that the man hosting this dinner isn't just any businessman. He's her uncle, and when he discovers what they've done, revenge comes swifter than anyone imagines. What happens next is a battle for dignity, justice, and the strength of one man who transforms suffering into action and betrayal into transformation. Stay with me, because this story will reveal how kindness can emerge from darkness, and you won't believe how it ends until you hear it. Tell us what time you're watching and where you're from, and don't forget to leave a comment below. We'd love to hear your opinions. The atmosphere inside the private dining room felt warm, almost perfect. Soft classical music played through hidden speakers, blending with the gentle clink of crystal glasses and silver cutlery. Sarah Mitchell, 29 years old and 6 months pregnant, sat at the long mahogany table, one hand resting gently on her growing belly. The candlelight flickered across her face, highlighting the exhaustion she tried to hide. Her marriage to Marcus Grant, the tech millionaire everyone respected, had turned into an empty shell. He used to call her during lunch breaks, leave sweet messages on her phone, touch her stomach each night before sleeping. Now he sent his assistant to deliver information. His voice had become cold, his attention always somewhere else. Sarah still believed marriage could survive rough patches. She still hoped this baby would remind him of the man he used to be. She adjusted her napkin across her lap and smiled softly at the menu. "You're going to love your grandpa," she whispered to her belly. "He's hosting this whole dinner just for us." The waiter had just brought water when the door opened suddenly. The sound made her jump. Marcus stood in the doorway, wearing his designer suit, his expensive watch shining under the chandelier light. For one brief moment, hope crossed your face. He came on time. Maybe he cares. But then another figure appeared behind him, a tall woman in a bright red gown, confident, beautiful in a way that looked practiced. "Marcus," Sarah said softly, confusion filling her voice. "Why is she here?" Jessica Stone's lips curved into a perfect smile, the kind designed to hurt. "He wanted me to meet the family," she said smoothly. Her perfume filled the private room. The scent of jasmine clashed with the smell of fresh bread. Marcus shifted uncomfortably, but didn't deny it. "Jessica, please," he muttered, eyes darting towards Sarah's face. Sarah pushed herself up slightly in her chair, her heart racing. "You brought her here?" she said. "To our family dinner? To my father's dinner?" "It's not what it looks like," Marcus said, his voice quiet but not convincing. "She's my business partner. We're working on a new project." Jessica laughed under her breath. "Stop lying, Marcus. She deserves honesty." Then she looked at Sarah, her tone filled with fake concern. "He's been trying to tell you for weeks. You just refuse to see it." Color drained from Sarah's face. She tried to speak, but the words stuck in her throat. Jessica stepped closer, her heels clicking sharply against the wooden floor. "You think having his baby will keep him. That's sweet, but foolish." Marcus finally spoke, his voice shaking between shame and anger. "Jessica, that's enough." No, she snapped back. "You've let her trap you long enough." Her eyes turned towards Sarah. "Look at her. She still thinks she's special." Sarah's vision blurred. She could feel her heart beating too hard, her skin growing hot. "Please stop," she whispered. "I can't handle this right now." Jessica crossed her arms. "Oh, I think you can. You've been playing the victim for months. Why stop now?" The tension in the room grew heavy. Sarah gripped the edge of the table to steady herself. A sharp pain shot through her stomach. She winced and gasped. "Something's wrong," she said, her voice barely heard. Marcus took one step forward, unsure what to do. Jessica's eyes narrowed with disgust. "You see," she said coldly, "always the drama, always the victim." Sarah tried to reach for her phone, but her hand shook. "I need help," she said through tight lips. Jessica moved closer, standing over her. "Here's some advice, Sarah. Learn to give up. You're embarrassing yourself." Her words felt like ice pressed against skin. Sarah tried to stand but stumbled.
one hand on her belly, the other gripping the chair. The pain sharpened, cutting through her like fire. "Please," she cried, "don't do this." Jessica's voice dropped to a whisper. "You don't deserve him." Then, in a burst of rage, she grabbed Sarah's arm and shoved her hard. The sound of impact echoed through the room. Sarah's cry filled the air as her body hit the edge of the table. A glass crashed to the floor with a heavy sound. Sarah collapsed to her knees, both arms protecting her belly, her breath coming in short, broken gasps. The room spun. Her hair stuck to her damp face, her lips trembling. "Please," she whispered, voice breaking. "My baby!" Jessica stood still for a moment, chest rising fast, eyes wild with what looked like satisfaction and fear mixed together. Then she straightened, fixing her hair as if nothing had happened. Her reflection in the glass window stared back at her, calm, distant, untouched. Marcus remained frozen near the door, face drained of color, unable to process what had just occurred. The man who once promised protection now couldn't move. His wife was on the ground, suffering. The woman beside him breathing hard, her red dress glowing under chandelier light like a wound that refused to heal. Sarah tried to crawl toward her purse, reaching blindly for her phone, as if calling someone could save them both, but her strength was fading. She lifted her head toward Marcus, eyes full of shock. "You let this happen! You just stood there!" Marcus opened his mouth, but no words came. Jessica turned to him and said calmly, "She brought it on herself." Her tone was smooth, her voice steady, but her hands trembled.
Official statement for the incident report. "I already told you what happened," she said sharply. "She tripped, panicked, and fell. It's not my fault if she's dramatic." The guard nodded slowly, making notes on his pad. His eyes showed doubt. He had seen plenty of scenes like this, wealthy people trying to twist truth before the evidence could catch up. Marcus ran a hand through his hair, leaving a streak of red across his forehead without realizing it. The smell of iron stuck to him. "I need to see her," he said under his breath. "I need to make sure she's okay." Jessica stepped closer, lowering her voice. "You need to think. You rush after her now and everyone will assume guilt. Stay calm, act normal, and we'll fix this." He stared at her, feeling the words but not hearing them. Somewhere inside, the realization had already begun. There was no fixing what had just happened. Down the corridor, a small group of staff whispered near the host station. "They're saying his girlfriend pushed her," one of them murmured. "No, shoved her," another corrected, "right into the table." The rumor spread faster than the truth could form. By the time it reached the main dining area, it had become a scandal. When restaurant manager David Chen arrived, the hallway parted to let him through. His calm authority silenced the noise. "Where is she?" "An ambulance took her. Severe trauma, possible complications." Manager Chen turned to the security guard. "Keep everyone who is in that room available for questioning." His gaze locked on Jessica and Marcus for a moment, sharp and firm. "That includes both of them." Jessica bristled. "You can't keep us here. I have nothing to do with this." "Then you have nothing to fear," Manager Chen replied, walking away. The hallway fell into uneasy quiet. Cameras near the ceiling blinked red. The security system recorded every movement, every expression. Later, that footage would tell the truth no one wanted to face. Marcus stood near the door, still staring at the floor where his wife's blood remained in small dark stains. His reflection in the window looked like a stranger's, pale, shaken, hollow. Jessica reached for his arm, but he stepped away. "I need to think," he said quietly. She smiled thinly. "Think fast. The media moves quicker than guilt." He didn't answer. He walked toward the exit, not to find Sarah, but to escape the noise, the whispers, and the truth closing around him. Behind him, a cleaner began mopping the floor. The sound of the mop dragging through the mess was the only thing that broke the silence. The smell of cleaning solution replaced the scent of perfume. By the time the hallway was clean, only the memory of what happened remained. A memory that could never be erased. Outside the restaurant, the street buzzed with quiet speculation. No one yet knew her name, but everyone had already taken sides. and as the doors to the emergency vehicle closed behind Sarah Mitchell, her world and Marcus's had already split beyond repair. The doors to the emergency room swung open as the medical team rushed Sarah into the trauma area. Bright lights hit her face, blinding and cold. Voices layered over one another, sharp and urgent. Blood pressure dropping, pulse unstable. We need fluids now. Her body shook uncontrollably as she clutched the sheet beneath her fingers. Somewhere deep inside, she still heard the faint echo of her baby's heartbeat through the portable monitor. It was weak but steady, a sound fighting to exist. Dr. Lisa Park moved fast, gloved hands hovering over Sarah's stomach. "Get me her vitals, set up an IV line. I want obstetrics here immediately." Nurses surrounded the table, attaching monitors, cutting through fabric, checking the bleeding. The smell of antiseptic filled the air. The beeping machines created a rhythm of tension, a kind of mechanical prayer. Her lips moved, but no words came out. Her skin looked pale under the bright light, her breathing shallow. "Stay with me, honey," one nurse whispered, wiping sweat from her forehead. "You're going to be okay." The curtain opened again, and the chief of the hospital, Dr. Robert Chen, stepped inside. His gray hair and calm presence brought an instant hush to the room. He had been the hospital's director for 20 years, a man known for discipline, not emotion. But as he looked at the woman on the bed, his composure broke.
For a moment, he froze. "Lisa," he said quietly. "What's her name?" "Sarah Mitchell," the doctor replied without looking up. 29 years old, 6 months pregnant, blunt trauma to the abdomen, possible internal bleeding. The name struck him like lightning. His eyes widened. "Say that again," he said. "Sarah Mitchell," she repeated, still focused on the monitor. He stepped closer, staring at the patient's face. The curve of her jaw, the small birthmark near her eyebrow, the one he remembered from childhood visits. "Oh my God," he whispered. "She's my niece." They exchanged surprised glances, unsure how to react. But Dr. Chen straightened quickly, pulling his mask into place. "Nobody leaves this room. We do everything we can to save her and that baby." His tone left no room for doubt. Sarah's eyes opened slightly, unfocused at first, then filled with confusion. "Uncle Robert," she breathed weakly. He leaned down, his gloved hand touching hers. "I'm here, sweetheart," he said, voice thick with emotion. "You're safe now, I promise." Tears welled at the corners of her eyes. "He let her hurt me. He just stood there." His jaw tightened. "Don't talk. You need to rest. We'll deal with that later." He looked toward Dr. Park. "How's the baby?" The younger doctor checked the ultrasound. "Fetal heart rate unstable. We might have placental damage. We need to stabilize the mother first." "Do it. I'll assist." The team moved like a single unit, efficient and focused. Fluids ran through the IV lines, blood pressure numbers flickered on the monitor. The sound of machines filled the air. Every movement felt like a battle against time. Outside the operating area, word of the emergency began to spread. Hospital staff whispered in corners, wondering why the director himself was helping in a trauma case. Some said the patient was important. Others thought it was political. No one imagined it was personal. Inside, the minutes stretched thin. Sarah drifted in and out of consciousness, her mind floating between the present and fragments of memory. She saw her uncle's house in the summer light, smelled cookies, heard laughter. "You used to bake cookies," she murmured faintly, "with chocolate chips." Dr. Chen swallowed hard. "And you always ate them before they cooled," he said softly, forcing a small smile. "You're still stubborn. Hold on for me. Hold on for her." The baby's heartbeat slowed, then steadied again. A nurse adjusted the oxygen mask, glancing at the clock. "We've got improvement. Heart rate stabilizing." Relief washed through the room like a wave. Dr. Park looked up. "We're not out of danger yet, but she's responding." Dr. Chen closed his eyes for half a second, whispering something only he could hear.
Then he refocused, his voice calm and firm. "Prepare for ultrasound imaging. I want to see internal damage before we move forward." For the next 20 minutes, silence ruled, except for the hum of machines and short bursts of medical instructions. Sweat formed on foreheads. The air felt heavy, thick with urgency and hope mixed together. At last, Dr. Park nodded. "She's stable enough for now. We'll monitor closely. The baby's heartbeat is fragile, but holding steady." Dr. Chen stepped back, removing his gloves with slow care. The weight of emotion he had kept buried for years pressed against his chest. He had lost contact with his sister after a family argument decades ago. He hadn't known her daughter had grown up, married, and moved back to the city. Now, by some twist of fate, she had been brought into his hospital, broken and hurt. He looked at her face, pale but peaceful now, and felt both regret and purpose flooding in. "You found your way back to me," he whispered under his breath, "and I won't lose you again." Dr. Park approached him quietly. "We'll keep her under observation for the next few hours. She needs rest, the baby too." He nodded, his voice steady once more. "Good work, everyone. Keep full watch on her vitals. I want updates every 10 minutes. As the team left, he remained by the bedside, watching the gentle rise and fall of her chest. Sarah slept, her hands still resting protectively over her stomach. The monitor beeped softly beside her, a fragile song. Through the glass wall, he could see the hallway buzzing with controlled movement. Security officers spoke to staff. Reporters had not yet arrived, but they knew they would. There would be questions about the assault, about the people responsible, about the truth. He would face them when the time came. For now, only one thing mattered: the woman on the bed and the life she carried. He leaned closer, his voice a whisper meant only for her. "You're safe, Sarah. No one will hurt you again." For the first time that night, the rhythm of the machines evened out, calm and constant, like the slow return of order after chaos. But outside that room, the storm was only beginning to form.
For a moment, he froze. "Lisa," he said quietly. "What's her name?" "Sarah Mitchell," the doctor replied without looking up. 29 years old, 6 months pregnant, blunt trauma to the abdomen, possible internal bleeding. The name struck him like lightning. His eyes widened. "Say that again," he said. "Sarah Mitchell," she repeated, still focused on the monitor. He stepped closer, staring at the patient's face. The curve of her jaw, the small birthmark near her eyebrow, the one he remembered from childhood visits. "Oh my God," he whispered. "She's my niece." They exchanged surprised glances, unsure how to react. But Dr. Chen straightened quickly, pulling his mask into place. "Nobody leaves this room. We do everything we can to save her and that baby." His tone left no room for doubt. Sarah's eyes opened slightly, unfocused at first, then filled with confusion. "Uncle Robert," she breathed weakly. He leaned down, his gloved hand touching hers. "I'm here, sweetheart," he said, voice thick with emotion. "You're safe now, I promise." Tears welled at the corners of her eyes. "He let her hurt me. He just stood there." His jaw tightened. "Don't talk. You need to rest. We'll deal with that later." He looked toward Dr. Park. "How's the baby?" The younger doctor checked the ultrasound. "Fetal heart rate unstable. We might have placental damage. We need to stabilize the mother first." "Do it. I'll assist." The team moved like a single unit, efficient and focused. Fluids ran through the IV lines, blood pressure numbers flickered on the monitor. The sound of machines filled the air. Every movement felt like a battle against time. Outside the operating area, word of the emergency began to spread. Hospital staff whispered in corners, wondering why the director himself was helping in a trauma case. Some said the patient was important. Others thought it was political. No one imagined it was personal. Inside, the minutes stretched thin. Sarah drifted in and out of consciousness, her mind floating between the present and fragments of memory. She saw her uncle's house in the summer light, smelled cookies,
heard laughter. "You used to bake cookies," she murmured faintly, "with chocolate chips." Dr. Chen swallowed hard. "And you always ate them before they cooled," he said softly, forcing a small smile. "You're still stubborn. Hold on for me. Hold on for her." The baby's heartbeat slowed, then steadied again. A nurse adjusted the oxygen mask, glancing at the clock. "We've got improvement. Heart rate stabilizing." Relief washed through the room like a wave. Dr. Park looked up. "We're not out of danger yet, but she's responding." Dr. Chen closed his eyes for half a second, whispering something only he could hear. Then he refocused, his voice calm and firm. "Prepare for ultrasound imaging. I want to see internal damage before we move forward." For the next 20 minutes, silence ruled, except for the hum of machines and short bursts of medical instructions. Sweat formed on foreheads. The air felt heavy, thick with urgency and hope mixed together. At last, Dr. Park nodded. "She's stable enough for now. We'll monitor closely. The baby's heartbeat is fragile, but holding steady." Dr. Chen stepped back, removing his gloves with slow care. The weight of emotion he had kept buried for years pressed against his chest. He had lost contact with his sister after a family argument decades ago. He hadn't known her daughter had grown up, married, and moved back to the city. Now, by some twist of fate, she had been brought into his hospital, broken and hurt. He looked at her face, pale but peaceful now, and felt both regret and purpose flooding in. "You found your way back to me," he whispered under his breath, "and I won't lose you again." Dr. Park approached him quietly. "We'll keep her under observation for the next few hours. She needs rest, the baby too." He nodded, his voice steady once more. "Good work, everyone. Keep full watch on her vitals. I want updates every 10 minutes. As the team left, he remained by the bedside, watching the gentle rise and fall of her chest. Sarah slept, her hands still resting protectively over her stomach. The monitor beeped softly beside her, a fragile song. Through the glass wall, he could see the hallway buzzing with controlled movement. Security officers spoke to staff. Reporters had not yet arrived, but they knew they would. There would be questions about the assault, about the people responsible, about the truth. He would face them when the time came. For now, only one thing mattered, the woman on the bed and the life she carried. He leaned closer, his voice a whisper meant only for her. "You're safe, Sarah. No one will hurt you again." For the first time that night, the rhythm of the machines evened out calm and constant, like the slow return of order after chaos. But outside that room, the storm was only beginning to form.
Morning light broke through the clouds outside City Memorial Hospital, but inside the walls of the administrative floor, the air remained tense. The night's chaos had left marks through every department. Nurses whispered in corners, staff avoided eye contact, and rumors spread like invisible smoke. Everyone had heard about the assault at the restaurant. No one dared speak about the fact that the hospital's director had been inside the trauma area all night. Dr. Robert Chen stepped into his office, his shoulders heavy with exhaustion. He had not slept yet. His mind was sharp, fueled by anger and duty. On his desk lay a preliminary report about the incident. At the bottom of the page were two familiar names, Marcus Grant and Jessica Stone. He read them twice, each letter tightening his jaw. He pressed the intercom button. "Find both of them," he told his assistant. "Bring them to conference room A. I want security present." His voice was calm but absolute. No one questioned his tone. Downstairs, Jessica sat in the waiting area outside administration. Her red dress from the previous night looked out of place under the hospital lights. The color that once gave her confidence now drew stares. Beside her, Marcus sat in silence, his hands clasped, his eyes empty. The sleepless hours had stripped the pride from his face. The silence between them was louder than any accusation. The door opened, and a security officer gestured for them to follow. "Dr. Chen will see you now." They entered the room together. The blinds were half drawn, letting in a narrow beam of morning sunlight that cut across the polished table. Dr. Chen stood at the far end, his posture straight, his expression unreadable. The gray in his hair caught the light, giving him a quiet authority that filled the space before he even spoke. "Sit down," he said. His voice was steady but cold. Jessica crossed her arms but obeyed. Marcus hesitated, then followed. Dr. Chen studied them for a long moment before speaking again. "You both understand why you're here." Jessica forced a tight smile. "We already explained what happened. It was an accident. She fell." He raised an eyebrow. "An accident," he repeated slowly. "Then explain to me why there's a security report showing visible bruising consistent with impact and why my staff had to clean blood from the floor." Jessica's mouth opened then closed again. "I didn't touch her." He turned his attention to Marcus. "And you, Mr. Grant, were you a witness to this accident?" Marcus's eyes flickered toward Jessica before meeting the doctor's gaze. "I didn't see everything. It all happened fast." Dr. Chen took a step forward. "Let me make something clear. This is not a social scandal. This is a criminal matter that took place at a public venue. A pregnant woman was injured. I don't care how much money you have or how important your name is, you will answer for it." Jessica shifted uncomfortably in her chair. "Are you threatening us?" He leaned forward slightly, his tone even sharper. "No, I'm reminding you that my responsibility is to the law, not to people who think they're above it." The words hung in the air. Marcus swallowed hard, unable to respond. Dr. Chen turned to the security officer standing by the door. "I want all surveillance footage from the restaurant reviewed immediately. Forward a copy to the police. I'll handle the rest." Jessica's confidence cracked. "You can't do that without a formal complaint." He looked at her, his expression calm but serious. "The complaint has already been filed by me as a medical professional and family member." Her eyes widened. "You can't be serious." "I am," he said quietly. "And if you're wondering why I care so deeply, it's because the woman you assaulted is my niece." The color drained from her face. Marcus looked up sharply, shock replacing exhaustion. "Your niece?" he repeated. Dr. Chen nodded once. "Yes, Sarah Mitchell. And even if she were a stranger, I would do the same thing. But she is not a stranger. She is family. And after last night, this institution will stand on her side, not yours." Jessica rose to her feet, her chair scraping against the floor. "This is absurd. You're biased. You can't run an investigation when you're personally involved." He didn't move. "Then you're free to take that argument to court. I welcome it." Marcus finally spoke, his voice weak. "Dr. Chen, please. I didn't hurt her. I swear I didn't. I froze. I didn't know what to do." The doctor studied him, eyes narrowing slightly. "Then you're guilty of silence, Mr. Grant, and silence when someone is being hurt is its own form of cruelty." The room went still. The clock on the wall ticked loudly. Jessica's confidence had dissolved entirely. Dr. Chen walked to the door, signaling the meeting was over. "Security will escort you out. Both of you are banned from entering this hospital or contacting any member of the medical team until further notice." Jessica started to protest, but he raised his hand. "Enough. I've heard enough lies for one morning. The next time you speak, it will be to the authorities." The officer stepped forward. Marcus stood slowly, shoulders slumped, the weight of guilt pressing down harder than pride ever could. Jessica hesitated, then turned sharply and left the room without looking back. When the door closed behind them, Dr. Chen exhaled for the first time in hours. He walked toward the window, staring down at the parking lot below. Ambulances came and went. Life continued outside, uncaring about the storms inside. He placed a hand on the windowsill, his reflection faint in the glass. "You're safe now, Sarah," he murmured to himself, "and I won't let them near you again." The morning sun brightened slowly, touching the edge of the city beyond. For the first time since the attack, the hospital felt steady again, anchored not by fear, but by the authority of a man who had finally chosen what was right. But deep in his chest, Dr. Chen knew this was only the beginning. The world outside these walls was waiting for answers, and soon justice would have to leave the hospital and face the public.
The first light of morning filtered through the hospital blinds, casting soft golden lines across the recovery room. Machines hummed quietly, their steady rhythm filling the silence like a heartbeat made of electricity and hope. Sarah Mitchell opened her eyes slowly. The world looked blurred at first, hazy from medication and exhaustion. She felt something warm wrapped around her hand. When her vision cleared, she saw her uncle, Dr. Robert Chen, sitting beside the bed, still in his white coat. His eyes were tired but gentle, the kind that spoke of sleepless hours and unbroken resolve. "Uncle," she whispered, her voice thin and cracked. He leaned closer, squeezing her hand. "You're awake," he said softly. "You're safe now." Her lips trembled. "The baby?" His eyes softened, and for a moment the stern hospital director vanished, replaced by the man who once taught her to swim and fix scraped knees. "She's holding on," he said softly. "Her heart is strong. You both made it through the night." Tears slipped down her cheeks before she could stop them. "I thought I lost her," she whispered. "You didn't," he said. "You fought, and she fought with you." He brushed a strand of hair from her forehead. "You're both stronger than you think." Sarah turned her head slightly, looking toward the window. Morning sunlight painted the wall in soft colors that reminded her of peace she no longer trusted. "I saw her face," she said suddenly. "Jessica. She smiled after it happened, like she wanted me to suffer." Dr. Chen's expression hardened. "Don't think about her," he said. "She's not your concern anymore." Sarah swallowed, her voice shaking. "They pushed me, Uncle. She didn't hesitate. Marcus just stood there. He didn't even move." He closed his eyes for a moment, collecting the anger before it could spill over. When he spoke again, his tone was calm but cold. "I know. I've read every report, watched the security footage, and spoken to the staff who were there. The truth is clear. What happened to you was not an accident, and it will not be ignored." Sarah's breathing hitched. "They won't stop," she weakly said. "People like them never stop. They'll twist it. They'll make me look crazy." He straightened in his chair. "Then we'll untwist it," he said. "They might have money, but I have something stronger, the truth and the power to make it heard." For a moment neither spoke. Only the quiet rhythm of the monitor filled the space between them. Sarah's fingers tightened around his hand. "I don't want revenge," she said softly. "I just want my child to live without fear." His voice lowered. "That's exactly what justice is, Sarah. Making sure no one else has to live in fear because of them." She looked at him, her eyes searching. "You promise?" "I promise," he said. "You rest now. I'll take care of the rest." Her eyelids fluttered, heavy with fatigue. As she drifted back towards sleep, she whispered, "Thank you, Uncle Robert." He waited until her breathing steadied before standing. When he stepped into the hallway, the hospital was already awake. Nurses moved between rooms with quiet efficiency, but tension lingered in the air. Word of the assault had spread far beyond the emergency wing. He walked toward his office with purpose. His reflection in the glass panels looked older than he remembered, lined with the burden of both family and duty. He picked up the phone on his desk and dialed a familiar number. "It's Chen," he said when the other end answered. "I need you to prepare a full legal report and submit a copy of the footage to the authorities. Yes, everything from the last 12 hours. Also, contact our public relations team. We'll be issuing a statement today." He paused, glancing out the window toward the city skyline. "No spin," he added firmly. "We're not protecting anyone's reputation. We're protecting what's right." He hung up and stood by the window for a long moment, his mind working through the details. Jessica Stone would bring her lawyers. Marcus Grant would bring his influence. But neither could erase the truth recorded on security cameras or the testimonies of his staff. This fight would not be fought with violence, but with precision and exposure. Hours passed. The sun climbed higher, flooding his office with light. When he finally returned to Sarah's room, she was awake again, propped up on a pillow, a little color back in her cheeks. She looked fragile but alive, her strength quiet and steady. "Did you sleep?" he asked. "A little," she said. "I had a dream about the baby." She was laughing.
He smiled faintly. "That's a good dream." She nodded. "You were there too." He pulled a chair close. "I'll be here every day until you walk out of this place." Her eyes glistened. "You really think we'll win?" "I don't think," he said. "I know." The room grew still again. Outside the window, the world went on. Cars, clouds, and the ordinary sounds of life that no longer felt ordinary to either of them. He placed his hand over hers once more. "You've done your part, Sarah. Now let me do mine." She exhaled slowly, her fear giving way to exhaustion and fragile hope. "Okay," she said, "but promise me something. Don't let them twist what happened. Don't let them turn me into a story they can control." He nodded seriously. "I won't. The truths will belong to you, not them." The light in the room softened as afternoon settled. He stood, smoothing his coat. "Rest now," he said quietly. "You need strength for what comes next." As he stepped into the hallway, a flicker of movement caught his eye through the glass. Down the corridor, a woman in a dark suit was speaking with security. Her red hair gleamed under the lights. It was Jessica Stone, back in the building, flanked by her lawyer, a look of arrogance painted across her face. Dr. Chen paused. The exhaustion that had weighed on him turned into quiet determination. He watched her for a long second, then turned toward his office. For every act of cruelty, there would be an answer, and this time it would begin with him. The city awoke restless. Morning news anchors spoke in urgent tones as headlines flashed across every screen. Violence at City Memorial, pregnant woman assaulted by tech executive's associate. The words were bold, unforgiving, and impossible to ignore. Every network ran the footage, every radio host discussed the story, and social media burned with outrage. In less than 12 hours, Jessica Stone's name had become associated with cruelty. Inside her downtown apartment, the walls of glass reflected her face from a dozen angles. She stood barefoot in front of the television, her crimson robe loose at the shoulders, her hair messy from a sleepless night. The news replayed the restaurant corridor footage. Though the camera caught only fragments, it was enough. A figure in a red dress, a sudden movement, a body collapsing. The audio of Sarah's cry, faint but unmistakable, echoed through the room. Jessica grabbed the remote and muted the sound, but silence didn't save her. Her phone vibrated again and again on the counter, lighting up with messages. Some from reporters, some from sponsors, some from numbers she didn't recognize. Every notification felt like a bruise. She poured herself a glass of wine and tried to steady her breathing. "It will blow over," she whispered to her reflection in the glass wall. "It always does." But even as she said it, her voice faltered. On the opposite side of town, the boardroom of Grant Technologies was in chaos. Marcus sat at the head of the long table, surrounded by his partners and legal advisors. Charts of falling stock values glowed on the wall screen. "We're down 18% in a single day," one of the directors said. "The media won't let go of it. You need to make a public statement." Marcus rubbed his temples. "I already said I wasn't involved." "Then why does your girlfriend's name appear in every headline?" another voice snapped. "People think this company protects abusers. They're boycotting our products. Investors are angry." He leaned back, exhausted, his mind trapped between guilt and pride. Every word from his lawyers blurred into noise. The empire he had built on charm and control was collapsing, and it all began with a single moment of silence, his own. Back in the apartment, Jessica opened her laptop. The first email she read was from a luxury brand she had represented for 3 years. Partnership terminated immediately. The next was from her publicist. Crisis team recommends temporary social media shutdown and legal defense strategy. The polite tone made it worse.